Hi, I'm Jay Andrews with Laguna Tools. Today we're going to have a close look at the industrial 25-inch planer. With over 25 inches in width and over 4.5 feet in length, you've got plenty of surface area here to feed stock through quickly and easily. A heavy cast iron base is the foundation for the industrial planer. This means that the machine is going to be vibration free. You've got steel ways for the table, and the tables are heavy castings that are very deep, and this will accept some of the heaviest stock you can throw through it. The thickness capacity of the industrial planer is a whopping 9 inches for thick, heavy timbers. Of course, there's a manual gauge like you'd expect from any planer, but you also have a digital readout. The digital readout goes one step further in that it's a PLC control. This lets you go through and pre-enter different values for your wood thickness and hit a button and have the table automatically travel to that location. There's also a manual backup for either fine adjustments or for manual movements of the table. Sometimes you might be working with a unique thickness of workpiece that you want to set. And to set that, you'll come up here and hit Program, and then you can hit a value for the number. Let's say we're going to go to 6.73. We'll hit Enter, and then we'll hit Start to move the table. Now you'll notice that when it reaches that 6.73, it also goes back down and back up, and that removes any backlash to make sure that the setting is absolutely precise every time that you're going to plane a board. The table can also be moved electronically using the push buttons for up and down. Manual movements are done with the oversized hand wheel. It normally will freewheel so that when the table is moving up and down that it won't bang into you, and the handle can be folded away when it's not in use. To move the table with the manual movement, simply push the wheel in to lock it and engage it, and then you can crank the table up and down. One rotation equals 1/32 of an inch. The 25-inch industrial planer is flexible for shops of all different types, whether you're working in inches or in metric. You'll see that the scales here are both in inches, imperial inches, as well as in metric. You'll see that the control here can be switched back and forth between metric and inches as well, so you can select the increment that you prefer. Custom shops will find that they work with a wide variety of different types of woods, and whether you're working with just strictly 2x4s that you're going to throw through the machine, or you're working with fine curly maple, you'll want to have some speed control for the machine. We've got a knob right here that allows you to speed the machine up or to slow it down to match the type of work that you're doing. So if you're just planing 2x4s, go ahead and crank it up to the top. If you're going to go through and plane some finely figured wood, go ahead and slow it down so you have more cuts per inch and a finer finish. If you're working with dry hardwoods, you can slide them across the table nice and easy. If you're working with wet woods, sometimes they don't slide across the table quite as easily, and so for that reason we've got retractable rollers that are inside the table. Simply unlock the rollers, raise them to the up position and lock them in place. This will allow you to feed damp stock through the machine quickly and easily. Now let's have a look inside the industrial planer. Simply unlatch and open the hood, and you'll expose the cutter head and have a look at the mechanisms inside. With the hood open, we'll see the drive mechanism for the planer. First off, we'll see the drive mechanism. It uses a triple drive belt for the ShearTech cutter head system. The next drive system that we'll see are the chain drives, and the chain drives are for the infeed and the outfeed rollers. The chain drive comes up through the bottom. There's a separate motor for the drive mechanism, and you'll see that the front infeed roller is driven off of a chain. The rear is driven by the chain, and then since we have dual outfeed rollers, there's a chain on the opposite side so that both the rear outfeed rollers are driven as well. As you feed your stock through the machine, the first section that it comes up to are the anti-kickback fingers, and these prevent any type of kickback that you might have when planing the boards. Next up is the infeed roller. This is a serrated infeed roller that grabs and pulls your product through the machine. Now if you're working with wide boards, a solid roller would be great, but when you're working with individual strips and feeding multiples through at a time, you want to have a segmented infeed roller, and that's just what we've got right here. The segmented infeed roller allows boards of slightly different heights to be fed through the machine simultaneously without having one board stall out. Now not only is the infeed roller segmented, but also the pressure bar that holds your stock down. You'll see that there's a series of springs up here on these rails, And these heavy knuckles right here are part of the pressure bar assembly that keeps your stock flat. Now we've come to the crown jewel of the industrial 25-inch planer, and that's the Laguna ShearTech 2 cutter head. This is a segmented spiral carbide knife cutter head, and you'll see that the individual carbide elements are arranged in 6 rows across the cutter head. These produce a true shear cut across your wood, and so if you're working with just plain timbers or you're working with highly figured wood, you'll get a perfect cut each and every time. You'll notice that the machine work on the cutter head is absolutely flawless. The rows between the knives are clean, and this allows the cutter head to run very, very quiet. In between each knife, you'll see little gullets in between, and that helps the chip ejection of the planer. You can see the individual carbide inserts, and these are German carbide inserts that are 4-sided. You'll have 4 individual cutting edges on the knife. The leading edge of that knife is just slightly curved to match the radius of the cutter head, and that produces a true shear cut. If you're to chip a knife or the knife gets dull, you simply loosen the screw, lift the knife up, and rotate the knife to get a new cutting edge, and you can do that for all 4 sides. One of the advantages of the Laguna ShearTech 2 cutter head system is the way that the knife is attached. Most knives on other carbide heads will have just a standard countersink screw. We use a T-step shaped screw to provide additional clamping force on the knife so that the knife does not crack when you tighten it down. This also helps to prevent any type of little minor chatter that happens in knives that are clamped with just a standard countersunk screw. You'll also notice that there's a lot of cast iron on the top here. This entire saddle assembly is heavy cast iron, and that holds the cutter head and the roller assemblies. Finally, you're going to see that there are 2 outfeed rollers. The dual outfeed rollers are driven rollers, as we've seen here with the chain. This will help to minimize snipe as your stock is feeding out of the machine. One of the neat little features you'll see are the air struts. That helps you manage the dust hood without having to wrestle with it. It drops down simply and it locks in place. Finally, on the top and the rear of the machine here, you're going to see that it's got a great dust hood, and this can connect to your dust collection system. Now, if you have any questions at all on the Laguna Industrial 25-inch planer, feel free to give us a call toll-free at 800-234-1976. Look us up on the web at lagunatools.com, or head over to our YouTube page and look at the videos on this planer as well as all of our other machines. And don't forget to subscribe.